Hi everyone, and thanks for watching. I'm here tonight to talk about the new C word, coronavirus. So, having recently got back from Italy, I wanted to share with you what it was like when we were there. So, firstly, for those who don't know, I'm unfortunately in self isolation, and I have been since I returned from Rome last Tuesday. And since Thursday night, I've been staying with my family in the northeast. I'll hasten to add, firstly, that after 6 days, I thankfully don't have any symptoms. I feel fine, and I'm sort of raring for things to return back to normal. So at the moment, I'm being well looked after by my parents. So where I am, I have an ensuite in the room I'm staying in. I'm getting my meals brought to me, and have things like a fridge, drinks and snacks in my room. So you could argue things compared to some hunky dory, but in reality, since I've been there for the last 4 days. I've only been out once, and that was just to walk to the end of the garden and back. And things have been tough in that sense, and having to acclimatise to that. So, firstly, my work have been supportive in letting me work from home. So, in that sense, it's business as usual. So, like before, my girlfriend and I went to Italy last Saturday, coronavirus had hit bits of the north of Italy most severely, and I believe in particular the Lombardy region has been the worst affected. So the Friday, like the day before we went, my girlfriend called up Public Health England the day before we were going to travel, and we were advised that everything was fine. So great, we'd been looking forward to this trip for months. And to give you an insight, the affected areas at the time, sort of like from Rome compared to the affected regions, were around 300 odd miles away. So for myself, who lives in the Midlands, this is roughly about the same distance from, say, Birmingham to Edinburgh. So it's a fair distance by any means. So we thought it's affected those regions. It probably won't get as far down as there. So the trip to Rome had come about as I'd booked this as a surprise, actually last July for the two of us. I'd been to Italy a few times before, but not Rome, and so I couldn't wait to see it. The sights, the attractions, everything that's great about Italy, you name it. So we got there on Saturday and had our first excursion, but for the Sunday, which was the Colosseum. So this was really when the problems worsened. So on the Sunday morning, we had a call from V8 to advise that due to the virus, they were cancelling the trip, although we still went along to the area in which the Colosseum's in and we could see the outside of it, so bit naff, but better than nothing. So inevitably, we thought our subsequent excursion for the Monday to the Sistine Chapel would be cancelled, and unfortunately, and invariably it was. So we were going through the Vatican on the Monday, so there were queues going back for ages and ages, and I think for those who've been to Rome know that it's famed for that. So this was for St Peter's Basilica, and with it being an indoor building, we wondered why they were still letting people in when we then had our Sistine Chapel tour cancelled, and then the Colosseum as well, which is an outdoor vicinity. We were wondering why that was cancelled, but Basilica was going ahead. I don't really know myself. So going back to the Sunday, we went to an Irish pub, which we thought, it'll be great, good old Irish pub, that'll be open for sure, be a good laugh. And we got to the bar, and the guy behind it said that due to coronavirus, they're only offering table service, which we thought, okay, fair enough, we'll live with it. And then around 5 minutes later, I'm just getting into my drink, and then the police came in, sort of in quite an abrupt way, and then say that they're shutting the place with immediate effect, and we had to drink up, which was, it was really unnerving for the two of us, and we just don't know. We didn't know what was just going on or what was going to happen. It was just really strange to see, and it was worsening more or less by the minute every time we were out there. So just moving on, I believe it was around Monday evening when Italy upped its travel advice to all but essential travel. So the last day itself was quite eerie, and sort of the tourist numbers were lessening as we were there, because although I've only ever been now recently in March. Apparently, like in the summer, it gets completely rammed, and sort of the restaurants were still open, but people could sit on had to sit on different tables. So you had to sit in one place, and then the table, whoever you were with, like had to sit next to you on a different table, and then for others, you'd have to like sit diagonally across someone on a 4-person table, and having to keep a 2-metre distance from one another, and staff and people who worked in these places were even manning them in the places that we went to. So I think most fortunately we both got out of Italy fine, though I'm convinced if we'd left things any longer, I'm sure that things would have got really bad, and getting home wouldn't have been a nightmare, and undoubtedly really expensive. So I count we count us both lucky that we got out when we did, and our flight was there on time, and it was uneventful, and we got back fine. So we got back to England last Tuesday, around 24 hours after it was advised to go into self-isolation for 2 weeks, and having to adapt to this is tough. So the thing that I'm probably most annoyed about is that people are giving a different advice, and people are giving different advice, and maybe even people at the top who don't know actually what's going on or what to give, because a lot of these people who speak to at 111 aren't medically trained. So when we both returned to Stansted, we had a board from Public Health England displayed which saying we didn't need to self-isolate, but the truth is that this was 2 weeks out of date. And I think that for some of the people who came in, they just took that as gospel. And there are some people who are supposed to self-isolate, but aren't. I accept that maybe in some cases, work won't let them, so they're just taking the chances and not doing it. But I'm doing, and sort of my girlfriend's doing, what we think is the right thing, even though it is incredibly frustrating. So when we were back, we started looking at things like NHS 111 and Public Health England updates, but then reality had hit us that we had to self-isolate, so it hits you like a ton of bricks. Okay, so finally, just thanks to those of you who've been in contact, offering your support and asking how I am and how the two of us are. So, really welcome your support, and this has been much welcomed, and it will sort of continue to be in this difficult period. I mean, I'm worried as to what's going on going forwards, but hopefully I stay asymptomatic. I don't gain anything, and I can just return back, and hopefully everything returns to normality for all of us. So, for now, it's time to continue self-isolating and enjoy my fruit and ice cream and my black sheep ale, which for you ale lovers out there, I highly recommend. Thank you and good night.